Hey guys, so I believe that I have found the worst political alignment test in the entire world. I just took a skim through some of the questions, and it is bizarre, so fundamentally bizarre, that I had to sort of video myself doing this because it is strange. It's on IDR Labs and it's called the Political Left-Right Test. Now, IDR Labs claim that all of their tests are based on scientific research, but I do not see how some of these questions can possibly relate to anything related to political ideology. So the first one, most people would say that I am more, so the options are weird, conventional, eccentric, or predictable. I feel like people would say that I'm either weird or eccentric, based on people I know. I think most people from when I was a kid thought I was weird. I hope they don't still think that now. I'm gonna hope and click eccentric. So the next options are, I would rather live in a small town, big city, and countryside. That's obviously going to be the countryside because there's more cool wildlife in it. The next option, this is where things start to get weird. You're shopping for carrots and your grocer offers you some new purple ones. And the options are, I'll try the purple ones, or orange will be fine, thank you. Yeah, I'm obviously going to try the purple ones, but what the heck do purple carrots have to do with anything? Then the next one. You sometimes keep old plane and movie tickets as memorabilia. Apparently, keeping tickets from things relates to who you might or might not want to vote for. I'm going to say yes, because I sometimes keep plane tickets. This is where things start to get really weird. I'd rather listen to country music or classical music. I like both. What does my taste in music have to do with it? Unless it's country music where they're singing some hard right lunacy I'm gonna guess the Jews, which I'm sure is not a real song, it better frickin' not be. But I'm gonna go for classical music because I think I would maybe rather listen to classical music than country music. I have way more classical music on my playlist, but what the heck? Then there's this weird question. In science class, it would bother me to see a human hand preserved in a jar. Yes or no? Oh, freaking course it would! What kind of question is that? Then we have this next one. So it's philosophical discussions are mostly, and the options are boring, fun, or pointless. And I'm that completely depends on, what kind of philosophy is being discussed, what issues you're talking about. So it could be entirely pointless, it could be really fun, or it could be really boring, depending on what you're discussing. And, for me, I would find them fun, but I don't feel like I'm knowledgeable on a lot of philosophical, issues. And I prefer to keep myself well-researched before I do discuss the philosophy of certain things, in order to make sure that my opinions are as fact-based as possible. So, in that case, I find them fun when I am well-researched. When I'm not well-researched, I find them freaking infuriating, because I'm gosh, what this guy is saying sounds really bad, but I can't actually think of a logical counter-argument. So I'm gonna go with fun, because they're never boring or pointless. The next one is, what's more important? And the options are doing what you know is right, experimenting with your potential, being creative, or doing your duty. And I'd say what you know is right. Again, I'm not sure how you can really equate that to politics. Then there's this weird question. I'd rather have a motorcycle or a minivan. I think I'd rather have a minivan, solely because I think a motorcycle would be way more dangerous if I were to crash it. Then we have the strangest question, which is, do you like arugula? And the options are yes, no, and I have never heard of arugula. So I had to look up arugula, And it turns out it's a type of vegetable related to broccoli, kale, and cabbage. Like, what does liking a vegetable have to do with politics? So, I have never heard of arugula because, like, I hadn't without looking it up. The next one is, which describes you better? I'm open-minded, I do what's right, I experiment, and I work hard. And I'm like, I try to be all of those, but I mean, I'm probably gonna go with I experiment, because when it comes to, like, because I am a scientist, of course, then things get really weird. So we then get, things already got really weird, didn't they? Question 12 is, when traveling, I prefer to, and the options are, go see the the major landmarks, relax and absorb the local atmosphere, explore and get to meet the locals, or visit destinations within my own country. And, like, my main problem is, like, I'm fine with doing the latter. I kind of don't do any of the first four, because whenever I go elsewhere, I always want to find what wildlife is around, and, like, what plants, what animals, what birds, what insects, what, like, spiders, myriapods, that kind of thing. If I can find new reptiles, that's all I want to do. So, I literally do not even know how to answer this question, because I don't do any of these things. Like, I certainly don't like relaxing, because that's boring. I don't tend to go and get to meet the locals, because, I don't know, I often find myself uncomfortable, like, randomly introducing myself to random people around. Major landmarks I don't usually tend to care about very much, because they're always, like, you know, statues or, like, big old buildings, and sometimes they're really interesting for historical sides of things, but, like, I usually don't find them as interesting as the wildlife around. So, like, if it's an area with, like, unique, like, species of, like, snakes or birds or, like, you know, that kind of thing, I'd rather go for that. What does any of this have to do with my political alignment? So I'm gonna go with... maybe if the wildlife counts as the locals, I'll say explore and get to meet the locals. Question 13. Some people are just more deserving than others. I will generally say disagree. But it's like, is this just people inherently? Or is this like some people who are innocent and people who have committed serious crimes? And deserving of what? So, like, I'm not sure what this question actually means. But if it means inherently, then I'm going to go with disagree. This one I can understand being on this test to a degree. It says, which lesson is the most important for your children to learn? And the options are kindness, discipline, tolerance, and justice. You can see for some reason I keep getting adverts for dresses popping up on this quiz. I'm going to say kindness. I feel like tolerance would be... tolerance and justice would probably come from learning kindness, evolving from it. Discipline, I kind of feel like, unless your kids are, like, screaming and running around, I feel like unless that's the case, a parent who puts discipline first is probably the kind of parent who beats their kids and I wouldn't want to hang around with. Question 15. These questions have nothing to do with political alignment. I am better at improvising or planning ahead. I'm not very good at improvising because I get distracted so easily, so I'm going to go planning ahead. Question 16. We then get to another really, really frickin' weird question. And it says, I might be willing to try eating monkey meat under some circumstances. And it's yes or no. And I'm like, what are the circumstances? Is it like I'm trapped on a desert island and there's only monkeys? Or is it I'm at a restaurant and they serve monkey meat? Like, what's the circumstances here? Like, I don't know how to even put that into context. Like, do I put yes because it's monkey meat or starvation? Or do I put no because, like, primates and intelligence and stuff? But then, pigs are intelligent and, like, what's the right... I don't even know. I guess I'm going to have to put yes if I'm, like, on a desert island and they're the only trustworthy food source. But, like, weird. Question 17. Again, this question has nothing to do with politics. I'd rather read a book about music or a book about sports. And, I mean, that's obviously going to be music, because I can't think of anything more boring than sports. Well, except maybe, like, maths. Anyway, question 18. Ideally, which do you prefer? And the options are, people should take an active interest in their community, and people should pursue their dreams. I guess taking an interest in community to, like, help each other out? Maybe? Like, because pursuing your dreams could be more selfish, so... Okay, question 19. Again, nothing to do with politics. It says, when I leave for work in the morning, my things at my place are messy or orderly. I mean, my place is always a mess, no matter how much I try and tidy it, so messy. And the last question literally is dependent upon the type of street you live on, irrespective of your politics. Because it says, if you were in charge of the traffic around the street you live on, option 1, I would make it a street where all manner of people would be coming and going and transiting through. Or, number 2, I would make it the street be more secluded so that only people with actual business there would be coming and going. And I'm like, I mean, you kind of have to make it the second one, right? Because otherwise there could be lots of people, like, driving down your street at night if it's, like, part of a major, like, highway, and that could keep you awake when you're trying to sleep. But then at the same time, like, I live on a main street. Like, I live on one of the main streets in my city. Like, you can't not have lots of people coming and going through here. I mean, and if I were to change this street, it would make things so much more inconvenient for everyone else in the entire city. So, I kind of am going to go for the second one, but only because wanting to get to sleep at night. And the result is, apparently, I am mildly left-wing. As they determined through asking literally none of my political opinions whatsoever. I think I'm a lot more than mildly on the vast majority of positions. So anyway, that was the most baffling and confusing political alignments quiz I have ever done. And, yeah, I'm gonna put it down so that you guys can tell me how you did if you want to.